I thank you very much for tuning into That Will Nevr Work podcast. So, today, my guest spent years wrestling with alcoholism and the struggling weight of stories he was telling himself about who he was and what he deserved. And on the other side of that battle, he didn't just recover, he built one of the most respected executive coaching practices in the country, conducting over 30,000 strategic coaching sessions across 20 years with high-achieving business leaders who were winning on the outside but quietly suffocating on the inside. And so today, through his proven framework, the Prism of Perspective, our guest John helps mature leaders do the most dangerous and most liberating thing available to any human being: challenge the stories that built their cage and choose the ones that built their freedom. Let's talk about it right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Nevr Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
So, first of all, John, I want to say thank you very much for the compliment. Because I did my homework. So I did what I needed to do. And, but I want to make sure that people understand who's coming to us and talking to the audience, and understanding that, hey, even though no matter what stage of business you're in, don't allow what people have been saying about you to hinder us. So, John, I thank you very much for coming on the show. And again, I thank you for that wonderful compliment.
My pleasure. I'm really, really happy to be here and excited to have a great conversation. You have wonderful energy, and this is going to be fun.
All right. Thank you. So just in case you don't know who John is, he is wise, he's grounded, he's courageous, transformative, authentic, deliberate, empathetic, perspective shifting, but also life tested. So if you want to know what keywords to look up for this podcast, you know exactly what to look up. But John, I have a question for you. So you sat across some of the most successful executives and business owners in the country, people who every external measure, they have made it. And yet you keep finding the same thing that's holding them back. What do you think that is?
Well, thanks for a great question. What I have found with, successful executives, business owners, that tends to be the space that I work in, is that from the outside, right? Because I'm working with mature business owners. So they're not at the beginning phases. They're not just founding their organizations. They've developed the business. And they have a lot of external success. And really, truthfully, they have a lot of success, most of them in all the different areas. But what I find interesting is they always recognize there's a gap between where they are and where they'd really like to be. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of that horizon that just keeps moving. And when I was younger, so I've been coaching for over 20 years. And at the beginning of that, most of the coaching was really focused on, like, how am I growing this business? Mm-hmm. Now, the people that I'm working with are really, how am I going to have the most amazing life? And the business is a piece of it. Right. And so they're looking at, how do they integrate all the different roles that they play, acknowledging that they love the work aspects of the work they've done, and they want to continue to be a contribution to the world, but they may have overemphasized that particular aspect of their lives and underappreciated or invested in some of the others, like their significant relationships, whether it be a spouse or children, in their community, or often with their health, or just their own joy. Right. It's almost like they were chasing. It is like they had this idea of what was really going to make everything great. And it delivers part of that, but it doesn't really deliver all of that. And so what we do, unpack that and think about, okay, how do you reimagine your life from this incredible foundation, right? You've built this foundation. How do we launch from there so that these latter decades are the best that you've ever had? Using your gifts, right? Your zones of genius, staying in that zone in your work. So you're really making a great contribution, that the investment of time and energy and effort is optimized right when you're in your zone of genius. But that gives you an opportunity to step back and think about, where else do I really want to thrive? Mm-hmm. And so I'm 63 and I'm in the same situation there, right? You look at it and go, okay, when I thought I'd, want to retire, the whole story when you're young, you're
right.
like, oh, how soon are you going to be able to retire? Well, almost everybody I work with has gotten to the point where they can choose to do that economically, mm-hmm. but they don't want to, right? That's not the really fulfilling life. Now, some people choose to step out of the game and just go do full leisure. Mm. But when you look at who's really thriving in their later decades, mm-hmm. it's people that stay connected to purpose. Mm. And so that's a lot of what we do. Say, okay, what really matters to you from this moment forward? How do you want to impact the world, and what's going to be the most fun for you so you can make the greatest contribution? And that's a lot of the work we do. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun, right? And you would ask a question about, the story that we tell ourselves.
Right.
Societally, if you think about the story we tell ourselves about these later decades,
right, it
is either that it's one that, you want to get to the point where you can cash in your chips. And then, I live in South Florida, so it's like cash in your chips and go boating and golfing.
Right.
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 And then the other one is that somehow or another, we're supposed to be declining. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people's expectations of themselves, as far as their physical capabilities, mm-hmm. their cognitive capabilities, their ability to build great new relationships, is the story that we tell as a society is all of those things are diminishing. Mm-hmm. And they do eventually diminish, but they don't diminish for a long time if we do this well. One of the principles that I believe in is compounding incremental growth. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big exercise person. I created a form of exercise I call fitness presence, which is kind of a combination of like yoga, qigong, contemporary dance, and isokinetic strength training. Mm-hmm. And what it really is it's reverse engineered exercise in that it looks at like, what do you want to get better at? Strength, flexibility, balance, coordination, body awareness, resistance to injury, like all of those different elements. And then you think about, okay, how do I work on the edges of that so that I continually challenge my body to get better? And I just think exercise is a great metaphor for life. Right? We have the idea of like, okay, I know at the gym, I'm doing this. I want to get a little bit better. I'm going to do a little challenge myself in a different way. But it's most effective when it's really incremental, right? You don't go from, I'm doing 225. Why don't you throw 315 on there, right?
Right.
Right? You kind of incrementally work your way to the next phase. The same thing is true with life. And if we do it that way, we get an opportunity to be in flow, right? We get an opportunity to find that perfect challenge skills balance that is joyful, right? It's really a state that feels great, but it's also what allows us to continue to compound. So if we take that mindset into our later generations, instead of thinking about like, I'm declining, it's really, no, I'm getting better every day. I'm going to keep getting better.
I have a question though, because what you're talking about. Like I'm listening to you, and you would think that people that, as you're saying, you're 63, I'm 50, and so you hear. I'm just going to go back a little bit. Hey, the idea of do as I say, not as I do. I know better than you. I've lived life, and so sometimes people throw that word mature out there. Right. So, and so how, especially if we're in that place of uncertainty, right, at this certain age, what is the real definition of maturity then? What is the definition of mature? What is your definition of mature? Because you would think that someone that's mature may not have these deficiencies, right?
Great point. If they're mature in every aspect, right? So when I use the term mature, I really am referencing that you've got some significant life experience, right? You're not, while I think I can add value to a 30-year-old man, it's not the same value that I can add to a 55-year-old gentleman who's starting to, or female, right? Right. That's looking at their lives and they hadn't really envisioned from 55 to 85, right? They envisioned 25 to 55 or whatever it was, right? And then so they're like, I raised my kids, I built my business, but we have, if you're healthy at 63, your life expectancy is like in the mid 90s. So you got 30 years left, 3 decades. How are you going to use them? And if you think about it, like go back in college, right? And you think about in college, and like I worked in the fitness industry when I was in college. So I was more fit than most people, but at 22, most people are fit, right? Like run around college campus, most guys are like, you're pretty, everybody's staying pretty fit.
Right.
But what happens is as we start to age, there begins to be a gap between what's possible. And the way you experience life, the body that you bring with you changes radically if you do not continue to challenge it. And so, when I say mature, I mean, they've probably raised their kids, they've built their businesses and things like that. And they're wise enough to know that there's a lot they still don't know, right? I mean, they're all saying the more you know, don't know, right? The more you know, the more you know, you don't know. And I think that they are at that. Many of these people are like, hey, I've been expert over here, but I haven't necessarily been expert over here. And so they're open to the idea that there's new ways of engaging the world that are going to provide for them more of the joyful decades ahead. And so that's a lot of the work that we do, really helping people. We talked about story, like,
right.
What is the story you have when you write into the future? I was talking to a gentleman who was 60 the other day, and he did not have, when I asked him just like, so describe your world to me when you're 70. And he was and I said, just pretend you're an author. And I want to feel like I'm in the story of you at 70. And he hadn't really thought about it at all. So it was something he can work on, but not something he has worked on. So if in those situations, like, how do you make decisions about how to get this ideal space if you don't even know where it is, if you're not even thinking about it? Right. And so the behaviors that you have along the way that are ultimately going to lead to this desired outcome, which is always moving, right? We're always, there is no finished destination. It's just like purpose is a direction. It's not a spot. And so what I think from myself and the clients I work with, I like to help them think about it, like what is your purpose as far as your professional contribution to the world or, or your community contribution? What's your purpose as it relates to your family and friends? And, what's your purpose as it relates to your own growth? And like, why does that matter to you? Because purpose gives energy, right? If you're connected to like why you're doing what you're doing, that's inspiring. But again, often the purpose we get into our society is so materialistic and commercial, and everything's about building that business, which is important, right? You have to have the resources to do the things you want to do, but it's not going to deliver the whole package. And so what I love to do, which is of great interest to me, is really looking at all of it. So that's where we spend our time.
So and I brought up that word mature because at times we look at it negatively. It can be looked at negatively, right? And there's something that what was the first word I described you as? Is wise, right? Because sometimes, even though we might have age, some of us are not wise enough. We're not on point enough to understand, hey, you know what? This is my journey. This is my destination. This is my desired outcome. Not understanding that there is another level to that, right? You can always go above or beyond it. We just limit ourselves because of the box, scarcity mentality, all those type of things. And so I brought that word up because sometimes we can misconstrue the meaning of that because again, some people put it as if, well, I am mature enough. I'm the old head in this situation, right? So I have all the experience, but not understanding like, hey, we could all still grow. It doesn't matter what age you are. I could learn from you just like you could learn from me. And so I just want to make sure that we understood just for this community.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You get what I mean? That it doesn't have to be such a negative mentality towards it.
Not at all. I mean, I'm having more fun today than I've ever had in my life. And I'm more excited about the future than I've ever been in my life. And I think that's mature. I don't mean to imply that you're done. Right? It's interesting. I was listening to, I think it's called Be Your Future Self Now.
Okay.
And one of the things they talk about is when you ask people like go over the past 10 years, how have you evolved and changed over the past 10 years? You're like, oh, I've changed in this way and that way, this way, that way. And you go, how do you think you'll change in the next 10 years? Oh no, I'll probably be the same. Right? Like you're done. Like I'm fully baked.
But see, again, that's another story that we tell ourselves, right? That we get to a certain point, all of a sudden life stops. Well, why should it?
Yeah. Another thing, like people say, they'll reference character traits that really don't serve them or behaviors that don't really serve them. And they'll own them as themselves rather than a behavior. I am this. Like, well, I'm just, this is how I'm like, I always say like, okay, do you want to die that way?
Right.
Like, do you want to die with that being true about you? Or are you open to the possibility that you can let go of that? Right. And kind of shocks them like, oh, it's not really like I have blue eyes. I'm always going to have blue eyes. But, the idea that maybe I don't have as enough patience or I'm not disciplined or I'm not focused or as compassionate or loving or whatever it is.
Right.
I'm not going to claim any of those things and go, I am just X. Because like you said, we just continue to grow and evolve. If you think about the way the universe evolves and expands, right? We are part of the universe.
Right.
We are nature. And if you look at the universe and see how the universe continues to evolve and respond to what's there and grow, then so are we.
Right.
But we put this story on ourselves like, oh no, I am this, I have defined who I am. I've defined my capabilities and my lacks. And I'm going to own them, and I'm going to often put that limiting belief as a barrier between myself and where I theoretically would like to go. I'd like to go over here, but wait, let me tell you about my limiting beliefs, about why I can't really get there. And all of those things are just stories.
And so,
we don't have,
go ahead.
I was going to say, it's not that I'm not implying that we have equal strengths across everything, right? We all have our zones of genius, but we make up stories about, I can't do this, or this is a limitation, or this is fixed. And you're like, really?
Right.
What's actually the other thing that I find interesting, when I was growing up, you talked about my alcoholism. So I drank till I was 29. And during that period of time, I had a very fixed mindset, like in the Carol Dweckian kind of way, the idea that you have what you have and that's your limitation. And when I got sober, I got sober really through personal development. I had struggled to be able to get that together. And then some of Anthony Robbins' work about personal power came out right at that time, and so I was diving into that. But the story I had up until then was really that I even thought I was fairly talented, but I thought that it wasn't something that would continue to expand. And so people that have a fixed mindset tend to not really want to push the boundaries, because if they're pushing their capabilities, instead of thinking they're going to continue to expand, they think pushing on their boundaries is going to define their limitations. And so that's a lot of what limited me. And as I got into personal development, which I used as my tool for gaining sobriety, I began to see that there really wasn't, I had told myself so many stories about this limitation or that limitation as if it was real. But then you get into it and you're like, okay, I can actually get better at everything. Nothing is fixed. Right. Some things I'm going to get better at easily. Some things is going to be more slowly, but we can continue to grow and develop at everything. And so the fun thing is, why would you stop? Like, why would you like, oh yeah, I'm 60, I'm done. Because the most exciting thing is growing. right? I mean, if you look at yourself, whatever it was, you won a champion, you did this, you did that, the other, like, what was it? I grew. I took on a big challenge and I grew into it. And I was able to like look at it and go, wow, I didn't know I was capable of that.
Right. But see, here's the thing, though. I mean, so now we're going to relate it to the business arena, right? So, again, talking about being mature, talking about growing, all those type of things. But so if I have my business for the last 15, 20 years, and here's all these new products coming out, I'm fearful of AI. I'm fearful of any type of automation or how another company has implemented how they're bringing in their products or vendor, or client acquisitions, all these other type of things, So I have matured my company, right? And I feel like my processes have been working all this time. Why should I continue to grow if it's been working, whether it's been personal or business? But I'm relating it more to business right now, though.
Well, you don't want to throw out everything just because there's new things out there, but you also don't, in my belief, want to get attached to this worked in the past, therefore it's going to work in the future, right? I mean, if you look at like the story of Kodak, so Kodak actually developed the digital camera. Kodak was the place the digital camera came from,
right?
But they didn't give it enough credit, and most of their revenue was driven off of film,
right?
And so they looked at it. I forget what the story was like. At the beginning of the 90s, they did a summary, and they said, based on the pixelation of the camera, et cetera, that in the next decade, that there's no way that digital was going to surpass film. They were actually right in that decade. But the idea is we're not here for a decade, right? Like, and so like, what did they win? It was like, we have enough of a lead to get us through a period of time. Again, what I think is great, as someone who has not, like, I grew up a little older, right? I'm 63, so I was a little ahead of the curve with computers. In college, our computer class was programming in Fortran, which nobody ever does, right? So it was a class that had no value whatsoever in my mind. And then also I was drinking a lot until I was 30. So a lot of the time where some people were going to build some of those technical skills, I didn't really do a great job. And so I've always had, again, little story of mine, like, I'm not great at technology. The great thing about AI, if you lean into it, is you don't really have to be. Right. It's AI is an equalizer in my mind.
It is
for a lot of us.
Or can
and
be.
So
Yeah.
It's interesting. Who knows exactly? I think there needs to be some constraint.
Right.
I think that based on what I've read, there can be some serious dangers around just allowing it to grow unfettered and undirected.
Right.
Serious challenges there. But it's also a tool that can do great things. And if we look at our businesses and say, what are the elements? Go back to zones of genius, right? So where's your zone of genius? And then how do you use AI just the same way you would use another great person on your team? Like, what is the AI team member or members, what are they great at?
Right.
And then you stay in your zone of genius and allow you to use the time that you want to invest into your business in areas that are going to have a lot of impact. And there's a learning curve to AI, and I think it's just going to keep growing.
Oh, yeah, most
but
definitely.
You can get reasonably competent, so it's starting to give you returns pretty quickly.
Right.
Right? So you lean into it, and you take a course or two, and you figure out, like, okay, I understand. Here's where it really adds value. Here's where it needs to continue to be human-led. Here's where I can collaborate. Here's where I can actually delegate. And then you get a feel around that. And again, I think that's the same thing as looking at it and accepting where we are. One of the greatest challenges, I think, for all of us is our lack of acceptance about what is true, right? Whatever it happens to be. Like, let's say, exercise has been a big part of your life forever. And so you look at it and go, okay, this is great, exercise. And then you have a conversation with somebody and they're, they're 50 years old, but they're 300 pounds, right? So they're 100 pounds overweight. And the challenge isn't that they can't get to being really fit.
Right.
The challenge is if you don't accept where you are, And you say, okay, so today I'm 300 pounds, or my business is behind the 8 ball, or my relationship with my spouse isn't where it should be, or I really didn't develop the relationship with my kids, or whatever it happens to be, right?
Right.
Whatever is true is true. And when you get there and then you say, okay, I can build from here, but I can't build from somewhere I'm not. Like if you think about the Google map, they ask you 2 things. Where do you want to go? And where are you?
Right.
Right. And if you tell them a different, where are you? You can't get there, right? You can't go, I know I'm in Florida, but I wish I was in North Carolina. And so how do I get to New York from North Carolina? It's not going to work.
I think there's something that you're pointing out. Time. But the one of the things I have to say though with this, John, is that there has to be a point where you accept where you are, right? Because hey, you know what? You're like you said, you want to go from Florida to North Carolina. Do I accept the address that I'm putting in or not?
Right. Am I really here?
And I think that's what happens to us. Sometimes we don't accept the position that we're in if we are overweight, if we have not grown the business to where we want to. We're not accepting the criticism that our wife has given us because we haven't done what we need to do. We're not accepting the opportunities that maybe our kids have or don't have, because I've come across this as well. Some parents are a little bit more jealous, envious, because the opportunities that their kids have versus what they had when they were younger. So a lot of things that we have, kind of built up inside of us that kind of hinders us to move forward. That's just my own experience and people that I've spoken to. And again, some of that's just regular human, moments. And so, changing the perspective, I think, is one of the things that we really have to work on intentionally every day.
Yeah, I was recently doing this program called Inner Engineering by Sadhguru, who a friend of mine introduced me to him. I think he's also known as Isha. But anyway, one of the things he talks about is the inevitability of this moment. Like this moment, this is what it is. This is acceptance, right? And the idea that you push against what's real, you try to deny in some way, shape, or form to feel better in the moment. Well, you can't move forward if you're not really accepting where you are. But if you are accepting where you are, you can get from where you are to anywhere, but you have to accept where you are. And then if you find like that place that you really want to go and it's really meaningful to you, then the journey's meaningful. And so who cares if you got a journey ahead? You're doing the stuff that you want to do to impact the world the way you want to make an impact, right? So get real on where you are and then think about how do you use your gifts, talents, and passions to move toward the impact in the world that matters to you, and the whole thing becomes a game, right?
Right. So John, one, I want to say thank you for coming onto the show, and for those people that are listening right now, and they've accepted they are not where they really want to be, and they need to talk to you, John, where can they get your information?
Yeah, the best place to get my information is on my website, and it's it's just john-geraghty.com. And the email, if you want to email, it's john@that. So, but yeah, that's the best place. I'm also a coach, John Geraghty, on Instagram and LinkedIn and things like that. And so you can find me anywhere along those lines. Yeah, and if you're interested in like finding a life that's more filled with flow and joy and impact and really accepting where you are and bringing your gifts to your game, then reach out. I'd love to have that conversation.
Nice. I just want y'all to know we probably could be on this for the next 2 hours, though, John, to be honest. Easy.
Yeah, you're great, man. It was very nice chatting with you.
But John, I do got to ask you the question, right? The would you rather question. And some of us may or may not accept your response. But would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road?
I love the question, and because I had a chance to sit with it for a little while. I think life is a consistent compounding of forks in the road. I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier, and someone had referenced the Robert Frost poem.
Yes.
The 2 roads. But I think the interesting thing about that is, like, when I first heard it as a younger person, I thought that there was a fork in the road. But what's true is there are constant forks in the road.
Right.
And so we're constantly choosing. And what I think helps remove some fear is recognizing that you're going to make a decision, and you know what? You're going to make another decision based on the information you get back from the one that you just made.
Right.
And so life is just a continual choice and iteration off of the feedback that you're getting based on those forks in the road. So you make the best decision you can, but you recognize it's not this life or death. If I choose this, my life's horrible. If I choose, the truth is you're going to choose one of those.
Right.
You're going to get feedback and you're going to go, oop, overcorrected, undercorrected. This really inspires me. This doesn't inspire me. Right. And so the idea is to look at your thing, understand where you are, know where you want to go, and make decisions so you can take actions, because you don't know how things are going if you're not moving. Right. And so I would say I would choose a ton of forks in the road and recognize that is life. Life is constantly choosing. What do I want between these things that are being presented to me?
So you don't think that you would want to peek down the road? Because it just sounds, I'm going to be honest, the way I'm taking your response, like, hey, you know what? I'll deal with it as it comes. Some people want to cheat a little bit. I'm not sure if you've seen that movie Inception where the road bends up a little bit, kind of see down the road. But why would you want to choose it that way or go about it that way?
So when you are, at some level, you are looking into the future that you believe that you're going to create, right? Mm-hmm. So you are looking into that future, right? Life doesn't happen to you. Like there is no future that currently exists that you're trying to find, right? You're creating it as you move forward. And so what you're doing, the vision of looking into the future is looking toward what you consider to be your idealized future of impact and contribution and joy and everything you want to experience and contribute. And then based on where you are today versus that vision, you're going to look at it and say, which of these multiple choices, right? There's actually not two choices. There's always a bunch of choices. And you look at it and say, okay, I think this one's the one that's going to lead me there. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to take a few steps in that direction and you're going to have another choice. And so as long as you're continually thinking about where you want to be and that you're making decisions and taking action, you keep moving in that direction. And even that ultimate thing, that will move too, right?
Right.
Like your vision of like my vision of what I want to be true 10 years from now when I'm 73, I have a pretty clear vision of but I guarantee you it will be different as I move closer to it. Right. I'll have new imaginations. I'll have new ideas about what's possible. And so nothing is concretized, right? Everything is dynamic.
Right.
And we keep, and that for me, that has made my life post sobriety so much fun, and I look at life every day as an opportunity to play this game and have this impact that I want to have in the world and just keep moving in that direction and enjoy the journey.
So John, before I go, I really want to say, I hope everyone that's listening, John, I thank you for giving us permission, because some of us don't allow ourselves to have permission to look at life a little more freely, right? We're on the straight and narrow. We keep looking down this one road, but not understanding that, hey, there is going to be moments and opportunities for us to course correct, or whatever the situation might be. Maybe down this road, maybe I've been traveling on the right side. Maybe I need to be on the left side right now because there's too many potholes, whatever it is, right? So I thank you for giving us permission for that.
Oh, my pleasure. I mean, I think two things real quick, if it's all right. One is the name of my company is Courageous Authenticity. Mm-hmm. And so when I think about living life, you got to live your life, not somebody else's. Mm-hmm. And courageously, not just because sometimes people are like, I'm going to be as authentic as long as I'm surrounded by a tribe of people that feel exactly like I do. Right. You have to be courageous in like, what do you really believe in and what do you really care about? And then the second one is just as far as the freedom and the fun, I find when I'm restricted and I'm trying to walk too tight of a road, for me, I love the freedom and the flexibility and the idea that I'm going to fail. Dude, I've failed a bunch, right?
Right.
You made a lot of like, I'm taking this fork. Well, wrong one. Got to go back this way.
Right.
But I'm having a great time, And so I look at it and I go, wow, maybe I hadn't turned that way or this way. I'm like, I love where I landed. I love where I keep going, and I think being open to the dynamic process of the unfolding of our lives is really what makes it joyful. So,
wow.
And takes the stress out.
Wow. Nice. I thank you very much for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Maurice. Thank you so much for having me.
You're
really
welcome.
Great.
You're welcome. And of course, everyone, John's information will be in the show notes. So if you're biking, hiking, canoeing, looking at the Statue of Liberty, whatever it might be, his information will be in the show notes. But of course, before I let everyone go, I got to leave you with a challenge. So it's going to be a play off of the Would You Rather question about the door. So if you find one door, the story closed, right? Think of one specific opportunity, relationship, conversation, or risk that you didn't take because of a story you were telling yourself. I want you to think about what was that story? And also, what was that door that closed? And what would the version of you who didn't believe that story have done differently? Write it down. I don't need you to grieve it. I don't need you to be sad about it. We're going to move past it. But to prove to yourself that the story has not been costing you something real, proof creates the urgency, and urgency creates the change. I thank you very much for listening today, and I'll talk to y'all just a little bit later.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chisholm on social media to stay connected, and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or